Hello everyone, I am the Nomad of Japan here, and I want to start a discussion about one of my favorite mangas, One Piece. I was compelled to do this after watching videos from AniTubers such as Brago Diaz, Mr. Mori, Nuxtaku, and The Masked Man, among others. I want to be clear from the jump, this video is not, I repeat, not a jab towards them. I enjoy their content. I will link their videos in the description box that inspired this. I want to add something to the general One Piece discussion that I believe is time to mention. I have noticed something about the series that makes me believe that One Piece, despite its rather childish character designs, is not a shonen series anymore, but rather more of a seinen, or at least a hybrid of the two, have been towards seinen the majority of the time. First, let's start with some context of what I mean. Pre-time skip villains were typical shonen in fashion. Characters such as Hiraguma, Kuro, Don Krieg, and even Arlong, for the most part, were typical shonen fare. This is not a bad thing because they were good villains for the plot that they needed to fulfill: racist, arrogant, tyrannical, and so on. Now, all of these villains will still classify as shonen because of the nature of these villains and their overall impact in the story. Now, I believe the first major shift of the label from shonen to seinen does not happen at Marineford, but rather the arcs preceding it, the Sabaody arc. This is where we get a glimpse of the shonen label being slowly etched away. The reason I use this arc in particular, and not arcs like Alabasta and or Skypiea, is because of the environment of Sabaody. Here, our favorite group gets a much needed repairs to the Thousand Sunny from Silver's Rayleigh in order to go to the New World, and we get to see something rather shocking: the actual environment of Sabaody. We see actual slaves walking around the general populace, people terrified to do anything about it, slaves branded with marks, walking with chains around their bodies, world nobles who are introduced as people who can't be touched, who owns the slaves, behave in far worse manners than pirates attacking other pirates for attempting to fight a world noble, even though the world noble is the one clearly in the wrong. Next, we see an actual auction house filled with the movers and shakers of the world, and before that, a cameo from the legendary misfit himself, Doflamingo. A sale followed by a sale of a slave, followed by an assault on the world noble, which is later leads to separation by Kuma to scatter the pirates across the new world. Now, we knew up to this point that the government was crap and would do anything to hide this fact, but this is rather shocking, even for a shonen series. Now, I understand that other series such as Naruto and Bleach somewhat touches this topic, but from this point onwards, the series I've noticed, at least for me in One Piece, gets a bit more grim compared to the two. This is not to say that Bleach and Naruto is bad. It's just more, how can I say this? They don't necessarily touch on the same themes as One Piece did, at least in this particular arc. So let's look at how it becomes more dystopic. The Dressrosa arc. When that arc finally comes around, we get to see Sabaody on steroids. Maybe, possibly, how the end game of One Piece should look like. You have, let's see, you have people becoming unpersons, black market dealings, the convict gladiators who are basically prisoners fighting to their death sentence, government cover-ups to hide the fact that a pirate, regardless if he was a former world noble or not, falsified his resignations from the Shichibukai, but then have him masquerade around the city as if he's the hero, all while basically still continuing his black market dealings, and yet no one says nothing about it. On the surface, what I'm saying sounds ridiculous, even foolish, but think about it. When was the last time something this bleak happened in a popular shonen series? Sure, the Pain arc, Naruto, the Shinobu arc from Yu Yu Hakusho has, similar undertones, maybe not in the same actions, but again, something like that doesn't really happen that much. So there's going to be two fictional works I'm going to use as context to further explain my viewpoint. The first one, I'm pretty sure the comment section will be up in arms. And look, I understand why, but bear with me here. I just want to prove a point. Plus, I'm a huge fan of the series anyway. Berserk, and the second one, which you probably wouldn't even expect, 1984. So let's start with Berserk to mention an arc that has somewhat similar events. Actually, there's two separate arcs. One in particular is the Falcon of Millennium arc. You remember where Shirake gets lost in Britannius and she sees hanged slaves by the pier and whatnot. Sure, it doesn't come nowhere near close. Or you remember the time during the Conviction arc where where Mozgus gets the heretics, puts them in a torture chamber, all in the name of God, while a terrified Farnese is like, I can't do this. This is nuts. But another, I lied. There's a third arc I want to mention. But there's another arc, remember in the Golden Age, where Griffith makes the mistakes and do the sideways tango with Princess Charlotte. They gets pretty much caught the next morning, trapped in the Tower of Rebirth and tortured for over a year. All of that happens, obviously, in Berserk. We expect it because Berserk's a dark fantasy tale and it's very grim. But One Piece isn't a dark fantasy tale, but yet we have the same thing happening. So let's look at the second example that I mentioned, 1984. You guys remember the scene where O'Brien captures Winston and Julia for basically being traitors to the party, and he sends Winston to the room to be re-educated after he was tortured half to death. Now let's look. Now you're asking, so what does this have to do with One Piece? What the hell does Winston and Julia, two characters from a separate book, have to do with a shonen series? I'll explain. Remember that scene in Dressrosa where we figure out how the toys do their bidding? Or Doflamingo's bidding, for that matter? Because of Sugar. Sugar touches the toys thanks to the Hobi Hobi no Mi. Baby, well, not toys, but people. They, after the toys become toys, now they're, what? They get a contract, and they have to do whatever that contract states. And they're also forgotten from memory. All of these things are happening in the child series. Not to mention, not only they're unpersons, people forgot that they forgot who they were. That's part of the effects of the devil fruit, which is pretty good. I mean, it's a pretty good power, but outside of that, this is rather bleak for a child series. And also remember the events in Lovely, where we get to see slaves still running amok, or I believe they were pushing a machine-like apparatus. But the fact still remains, all this stuff happening in a series that's labeled shonen is kind of iffy, if you ask me. So, I want to point out another arc that I believe proves another part of my belief. Whole Cake Island. Mr. Mori did a good video on this, and he rather explained it better than I can. I'm just going to condense what I can, just for the sake of time. I just want to make this very enjoyable as possible. But let's look at Whole Cake Island, for instance. In the beginning, the Straw Hats are split up in groups. They infiltrate Whole Cake Island just to rescue Sanji. On the surface, typical One Piece. But let's go a bit deeper. There's a mystery, there's a crime drama. You're basically playing detective for the most part. You're wondering what the hell happened to Pecos? What's Bage's plan? Why is Pudding acting weird? What's the deal with Pound? You have a lot of these questions. Who's going to get what? Sure, we know how the series ends, but let's think of all the things that happened. You had not rebellion, but you had an assassination plot, an army raid. Well, not army raid, no, but you had an assassination plot. You had, let's see, what was the next thing that you had? You had Sanji's false wedding, which was supposed to be a complete massacre of the German 6-6. Not to mention, you had Luffy now fighting his way out of it just to survive. Then we figure out what happens to Paycoms and what was Bage's plan the whole time and how it's failed. But the fact still remains, we had all of this in a child series. Now you're asking, well, Nomad, Well, what the hell does this all mean? I want to connect this again to another fictional work, but this time it's more of the animated genre. Let's go to Batman Assault on Arkham, which was a cluster bomb of plots. But hear me out. Let's think how the series starts. Amanda Waller gets her Task Force X. They have to capture the Riddler. She doesn't tell them why they're capturing the Riddler, obviously, or rather she lies to them. Next thing you know, Batman is doing an investigation rounds on Riddler. They don't know that's happening. Meanwhile, the Joker's at Arkham trying to force his way out and reunite with Harley Quinn. They find Riddler to get rid of the explosive nanites so Amanda Waller doesn't kill them. I'm not going to explain the whole the whole plots of the film, but I just want to give some context here. Throughout the entire film, we can say the genres was espionage, a crime thriller, and a noir, which is good, which is great, which is basically what we expect from a Batman film. But like I said, we don't really expect things like this to happen in a One Piece story, which is why I feel that over time, despite sitting on the shonen label for some time, I truly believe that it has gradually shifted towards Seinen. I hope I'm saying this damn title right. But it's a Seinen. I think it's has become more of a Seinen series, and if not, maybe a hybrid of the two. But like I said, these are just my thoughts and my contributions to the general discussion. But please let me know what you guys think, whether or not I'm full of shit, or you believe that maybe I'm wrong, or maybe I'm right. I don't know. I really am curious to hear your guys' thoughts in the comment section below. Please like, share, subscribe, share the video with whoever you can. And this next video I'm planning to do is going to be based on 2 characters in Berserk. That's all I'm going to say on that matter. But for now, I just want to say thank you for watching. I truly appreciate all the views I can get. I truly mean that. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. All right, have a good day.